Now, I assure you, this is not going to be another ice bath video. However, while I'm talking, I'm going to hop in there. It's been brewing away for a while because I'm feeling a little bit broken at the moment after what has been 4 weeks of constant karting, racing, practice, you name it, which culminated today in another 300 laps. So let's get in there and we can have a little chat. Whew. Oh, I've got bruises, places I don't want to admit to at the moment. Okay, so while I am brewing away in here, I have a question to pose. And that is, when is a bad race meeting by way of results a good race meeting? It's just something to think about. So let's go back 4 weeks ago to Monarto. Monarto is one of those tracks I haven't quite fallen in love with yet. I haven't quite nailed it. It's a work in progress. But every time we go out, it's generally around a new layout, new direction. And that was the case then, because it was the full track in reverse. I hadn't done that before. And I should say at this point, I was crook as a dog, but out we went. And the first race, clouds everywhere, and wouldn't you know it, we're coming around for the start and it starts raining. We're on slicks, so we knew that was going to be interesting. And we got through a couple of corners, and yeah, lo and behold, there's karts just going off everywhere, including yours truly. And I thought, well, this is a great opportunity. This is practice. Think of it as practice. Go out there, try and work out the wet line. And I must say that first lap was pretty treacherous. I came off, I think, 4 times, and then I just started basically adopting what I would call the wet line, and before you know it, we started making a little bit of progress. In fact, I reckon we actually started becoming one of the quickest karts on the track, albeit for maybe a few laps before we went off again, and off again another time. I think it was 6 times in all. And I thought, well, you know what, you don't get away with that with a result. But I was really hoping that day we would have another chance at a wet race, because I thought we learnt enough. And sure enough, I looked at the splits when it was wet and we were doing okay when we were staying on the black bits. So the next race, another first, another learning experience. Because we were drawing for grid positions, it was the reverse, so I ended up at the front. Hadn't had that experience before, so that was just an opportunity to keep it tidy. And I think that was probably our quickest race of the day. It wasn't great. I think we finished about 6th or 7th, but it was just a good experience to be up the front. And then the next race, it started raining again. I thought, oh, we're going to have this second opportunity, and everyone's tiptoeing around for a few laps. But unfortunately, then they started taking the dry line, and I'd taken a gamble. I put more pressure in the tyres, so that didn't pay off. And that took us to the last race, which was a 20-lap final. So we went from, I think it was 7-lap heats to then a 10-lap semi-final to 20-lap final, quite a difference. And good start, gained a couple of positions, and then blew it all. And lost, I think, about 4 or 5. It happens, and ended up being a really good race, though, with one of the heavies, Tim Harrell. So, yeah, I mean, I really like it when you get in a race with somebody and you start developing a trust with how far you can push each other. And this went on for 20 laps of you know, being right on each other's back, right on each other's bumper, making a few moves. I go past him, he goes past me, and it was just a really good, fun experience. And towards the end, he signals to me, and we realise there's another battle happening in front of us with 2 other heavies, and we start pulling them in. And he just gave me a signal, so I backed off, and had we got a few more laps, that would have been a fun thing to see whether we could have got on them. But anyway, I just felt it was a really good experience, learnt a lot, definitely think we've progressed in the wet. The result was pretty average, to say the least, but roll on the next race, and it did. And the next race was this Enduro I've been talking about. It was a club championship meet at Bolivar, and that came first, the sprint meet, and then there was the Enduro after it. Now, the way this worked out is I had the good fortune to be partnered with a pro, Paul Piddham, probably one of the best drivers to come out of the state, a lot of knowledge, and leading up to it, learned a lot from him, and pretty much I reckon I dropped about a second, and that was due to changes we made at the car, changes I made to what I was doing with the driving with his help. And yeah, it was really good, so much so that when I got to the sprint meet in the morning, I thought I'm only going to do 1 or 2 heats, and it's just to get my eye in the game. And out we went. We qualified 6th, I think it was, out of 16. That was pretty good. And we went out and we ran 5th for a lot of that race, ended up coming 6th in the end. And it was with this tremendous sense of regret almost, that I felt like, yeah, I've got to pull out the meet now, just so I'm preserving the car, preserving myself for the Enduro, because that was the main event for us on the day. So I did that, and then along came the Enduro, and yeah, we were entered in the Pro-Am, not the Pro, because of obviously Paul's got a lot of a background in the sport. He's done extremely well. I'm fairly new, and it was 1.5 hours total. Between the two of us, we qualified. I think it was in the top 14. Can't remember exactly. I went off first.
So you've got to stay in the tram lines. We've got 90 minutes of listening to me dribble. We are about to get a start. And it lights are out. 90 minutes has started. Daniel Price has got a ripper start from the outside. Pulls over. We're 3x3. Who's going to be that person? No one so far. They listen to me. How good. Doesn't happen very often. Looks like Bowden has spun around early in the piece. He's on the grass, cutting grass already. So much for a lap start. I jinxed it. Daniel Price out in front of himself under about 3 miles going down the straight. Heavy drive that you can't at the moment. And getting past.
3 pit stops in total. 2 quick changes, just driver, and 1 fuel stop. And we were doing okay. I got into, again, some good battles myself. Paul was overtaking people left, right and centre. And it got to the fuel stop, and we made a bit of a meal of that, unfortunately. So we weren't the only ones, but the timer we managed to stop. And we had to try and judge 4 minutes from the start-finish line for a lap, including the pit stop, and then back out to the start-finish line just over 4 minutes. And if you break it, you get a 5-second penalty. Sorry, not 5 second, 5 lap penalty, which is the end of your race, really. And that's what happened to the people who were leading it. They basically got that penalty. We did the opposite. We ended up adding about 1.5 minutes because the timer stopped, and we had to guess, and we were wrong. So we lost the best part of 2 laps, and it is what it is. We worked out we would have finished extremely well in the Pro-Am had that not happened, but at the end of it, I was pretty philosophical. I thought, you know, this has been a great experience, learnt a lot, got some more pace in the kart, got some good ideas as to maybe what to do next year, do it again. And yeah, so moving on to today, and there was it was more of a novelty event at Xkarts. This is my local kart track that looks after me, and it was a 300 lapper enduro race, and I did this with another guy who goes down there, and a guy called Brendan. And he's pretty quick, he's a good thinker, and I think we did a pretty good race. We ended up coming 5th. An issue in the pit stops. Yours truly was responsible for that. I managed to put the car in the wrong place. We meant to go under the shelter. I didn't do that, so we had to push it back and go under, so we didn't get a penalty. And I think that cost us maybe a lap, maybe a bit more. But what can I say? It was a great fun event. We had some good battles out there. Really enjoyed it. I'm feeling broken now after 4 weeks of just constant karting. But I think we're going to take a few weeks off and do something different, and then when we get the kart back, because lo and behold, I've got a weld that's broken, so that's going to get fixed. Maybe do a couple more meets before the end of the year, and yeah, it's been pretty good. And on that note, now that I'm freezing my balls off in here, I think I might call it a day. And yeah, see you next time.